Hello YouTube, Cal Blacksmith here. First, I need to apologize for the quality of the following video. I had to purchase the tool in anticipation of making a project, and I had not intended on doing an unboxing or setting up video, and the battery in the camera was pretty low. Therefore I cut some corners, and it's not staged as well as I would like it to be. But that said, the quality of the castings are okay for a Chinese product. The quality of the machining is rough, but more or less accurate, except for where they drilled the holes. You'll see that I've got some mismatch in some of the holes, and that caused some alignment problems. They stripped out a screw trying to just jam the screw through the misaligned holes. The misaligned drill hole was half of a hole off, so there's just no way that screw was going in there without just destroying it. I did have to clean things up, take some paint off of places that it shouldn't have been painted, oil, and heavily adjust it. The shear blade was bowed toward the operator in the center, therefore it caused an interference with the two sides. The two sides were misadjusted when it came, therefore the blade would not lower. It was jammed, and it caused some burrs on the blade. The side guide stop was horribly crooked due to, again, misaligned, misdrilled holes. There's no excuse for that. China can produce reasonable quality stuff if you insist on it. This one must have been missed by the inspectors, because there's no way anybody looked at this thing before it went out the door. Anyway, this is an overview and rough setup and abilities of the machine as it came from Harbor Freight, and then a little bit of the work I had to do to get it ready to go. Enjoy.
Hello again, YouTube. This is the Harbor Freight 3-in-1 shear. That's 30-inch shear, press, bake, and slip roll. I'm going to need it for a sheet metal project I have coming up here, and I just thought I'd do a real quick unboxing. It comes in a Luan box, pretty well stapled. Looks like that there are just 4 nails holding the lid on, one in each corner there. So we'll see if we can pull those out and lift the lid off of this thing. They were on sale, and then I had a 20% coupon, so out the door I got this for $340. There's the shop dog. Every shop's got to have a dog. $340 out the door, and that's the tool. Weighs over about 340 pounds, so that's why it's on a skid. Anyway, let's get this top off and see what we find. Okay, as suspected, it was just the 4 nails and that little bit of banding that held it on. This is the tool here. It comes well wrapped in plastic, although there's nothing to be here for padding. Really doesn't need it. It's mounted to a skid. Each of the 4 legs is bolted down so that it won't fall off the skid. Each one's bolted down right over the top of the cross brace so that it's not going to fall apart. There's the instructions pushed into a hole in the back, and it looks like it's in pretty good shape. There's no damage. So let's pull this plastic off and see what we've got. And there's not much holding the plastic on, just a little tuck here and there. There's no rust, no damage. It's in pretty good shape. I have no idea how old it is, but they had to use a forklift at the store to get it down from storage. There's the drive spindle right here, or the drive where the handle goes and operates, and that's a very cheap plastic hand knob. That'll probably wind up getting changed. Same thing over on this side. Open up the sheet metal lid, and there's the slip rolls so that you can do the round stock, making sheet metal into round bends. Looks like it's in pretty good shape. Down here's the handle and cross mount, and there's the instructions. Looks like there's some burrs need to be cleaned up across the back side. That's not unusual. Pretty much anything you buy from Harbor Freight is a tool kit, not a complete operating tool, but this one seems to be in fairly decent condition, so I'm going to pick it up, unbolt it from the base, pick it up, and set it on the bench. Okay, I've got it strapped up here to the forks of the Bobcat. It's a little heavy for me to move by myself, so what we're going to do is pick it up and go set it on the bench. Now it's going to get noisy when I start the Bobcat, and quite likely I'm going to have to jump out and take that base off, and then I don't know about driving here, holding the camera, because this is a skid steer with hand controls. I'm holding my camera, and I sincerely doubt that I'll be able to drive the Bobcat and steer, but we'll see what happens here. Release. And lift. Get out and remove that pallet so I can drive forward, and then I'll set it down on the bench. Okay, this is where it's going to live, and just drop it back down on the steel table here. Some slack. Get out, unhook it, back the truck out, Bobcat out of the way. All right, shut that noisy Bobcat off. That's where the new brake lives. I took all the sheet metal off the outside of that thing so that it wouldn't get crushed by the straps, because the way it was rigged up, it would have crushed the sheet metal. So what I'm going to do is remove these straps from underneath. Give it a little twist and it comes right out. Same thing on the other side here. Get everything kind of pushed out of the way so that I could get the Bobcat in here, which makes walking a little bit difficult. But I'll move this out of the way, strap a little twist. Oh, come on. And it's out. So now, even though this does weigh over 300 pounds, it is on steel, so I shouldn't have too much of a problem. Just sliding it around and bringing it to its new location. Somewhere right about here. Shove it over a little bit, and there we go. Next to the vise, not going to interfere. Sitting right there in front of the arc welder, and safely on the tables. So there you go. That's 300 pounds plus of machine moved into the shop. I took the sheet metal, like I said, off of the roller simply by removing this screw here. Sheet metal sits in a track. Get this and I'll show you. Pull all the pieces and instructions out. It's a 10mm wrench that holds that in. Sheet metal fits right there, that little hole. There's the end of a screw on this side over here. Let's see if I can do that one-handed. Bring that up and run this screw into the hole. Wiggle it a little bit. There we go. And set the screw in place. And the sheet metal is back on. It's always worth taking flimsy pieces like that off, just so that you don't damage them moving things around, because you can see the way this is set up, there would be no way to hook to the bottom there, come up and miss this sheet metal, which is actually very thin, so it would have just been crushed. Front wouldn't have been too bad because you have the tray, you have this apron there, and there you go. So I'm going to set the camera down now, get some rags out, clean her off a little bit, and see how the condition is that she was delivered there. All right. Well, hello. It's the next day, and I've had a chance to look at the brake just a little bit, and well, you know, I was absolutely right. It is a Harbor Freight tool kit. I found out that while I was cleaning up the blade here, this lower blade was moved too far in, and then this upper blade was catching on it. So I was running a stone over the corner here to try to remove the extra burr that it had. I found out that this cutting edge, this blade here, right here in this hole, the cap screw that holds all these down, I've removed the cap screws here, was sticking up high. Well, that'll never do, because if it's high, then it'll make a warp in the material right here. So what I did is I took it all apart, and here's the cap screws here, and what I found is that let's see if you can see it here, the screw was run in sideways, so that there's absolutely nothing left of the threads here, and they're boogered up inside the holes over there. Just for comparison, this is what a good screw looks like. So side by side, bad one is going to be on the right there. You can see there it's just kind of boogered up and not usable. Well, it's Sunday, so I don't have the opportunity to go to the good hardware store, so I went to Lowe's. I picked up a tap and die set, and I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to remove this blade, because this blade needs to come out so I can work. This hole is going to get tapped so that I can put the screw back in, and then the problem is also I don't have a screw for it because that screw's boogered up. So what I'll do is I will then take a die, and I will take a bad screw like this. This is probably closest thing would be a 1/4 20, and I'll just take the threads off it, put it in the lathe, take the threads off, and run a die over that, and make it into a metric thread. Those of you that don't know what a die is, this is a die. It's for cutting threads on shafts, for making male threads. And then a tap is this piece up here. Tap like this goes down the hole, and it cuts threads down the inside. So I have a lot of taps and dies here, and don't yell at me for having them banged into each other. I bought this entire box of taps and dies at a pawn shop. I think I paid $25 out the door. When you stop and think that maybe that tap alone, which is a pipe tap, is worth maybe $40, you'll see the value here. And there's also wrench after wrench after wrench down here in the bottom, some miscellaneous. So there's another big tap. And another wrench, and another wrench, and screw extractor, and whatever. Deals are out there if you can find them, and but that's not the subject here. What I'm going to use to keep things straight is this here from my tool and die days, for making tools. This is called a drill block. The hole through it is bored perfectly square to the base. I'm going to use a slip renewable bushing here that the tap just slides through. This is going to fit in there. This will be on top, I'll remove this bottom base. Matter of fact, it just lifts off. I have it unbolted. This will then line up over the hole and will keep the tap perfectly straight so that I get a good square hole. So let me remove that from the machine at the moment, and I'll be back with you. Okay, I've got the tap and die set here. It's really a very inexpensive, cheap set. This is made from what they call high carbon steel. It's not as good as a quality set which is made from high speed steel, but it'll have to do. I don't do that much metric, and this is actually designed for a homeowner, so it's probably going to be okay. What I have here, this is called a screw pitch gauge, and this particular blade that I have out is a 1.0 because this blade is designed for metric screws. So you take your screw and you line it up and it sits right inside, so I know that that is a 1.0 pitch for the metric. English or standard screws have different pitches. They're 32, 64, 20, and same thing with metric, but this particular screw is a 1.0, and I believe this is going to be a oh shoot, what is this? Well, I can't quite read it. Probably a 6, I'm guessing. So anyway, let me get the right tap, and I will go through this hole and show you what that's all about. Okay, I've moved you to the tripod so I can have my hands free here. I'm just going to be cleaning up an existing hole. If I was going to be doing this for the clean hole, I would drill a proper size pilot hole, and I would be using thread lubricant. But just because this is just cleaning out a hole, it's cast iron, it's pretty soft, we'll be doing that. Now this is the hole here that we're going into. This is a 1.0, that's what this is. And I will take my block, and this just fits right through there like that to keep it nice and straight. I line this up here so that I am straight to the work. Line it up over the hole, and if this again was starting from scratch, I would clamp that down with a C-clamp just to maintain it being nice and straight. And now I just run this tap back down through the hole, cleaning it out as I go, just like that, so that I can make up for the lack of craftsmanship that was exhibited as this was manufactured the first time. That hole's pretty deep. I think I am well inside whatever I need to do for that hole. So let me back the tap out. Now again, I only needed this one thing, but I did buy the whole set just because, well, phooey, if I need a little bit of metric now, you know, I may need some metric later. So there we go. Get that out. It's only minor dirt in the tap. I'll clean that out. There we go. Let's get a good screw. Here's a good screw. We'll try it in the hole. And son of a gun, it goes back in the hole and it'll do the job. Let me put the cutter bar back on. Make sure that everything lines up here. Like this. That goes back in. This goes in the hole. And they gave me a inexpensive, shall we say cheap, Allen wrench to put the tool together. So I'll just use that here. Son of a gun, if the guy had just took his time when he put it together the first time, there wouldn't have been a problem. See how that slides nice and neat and easy? When I first got this tool, it was sticking up here about that much, so that you couldn't slide over the top. So from here, I'm going to repair a larger American screw. Turn it. These are cap screws. That's what they're called. These are socket head cap screws. and I don't have a metric one right now, but I do want to get the tool back together, so I'm going to use a die here in the box and convert a screw, an American size screw, to a metric 6-1. So let me go get set up for that. Well, unfortunately I don't have any screws I can convert over, so I'm going to have to go to the industrial hardware store tomorrow. I've turned this plate over. This is the plate that the blade sits on. If I flip this over, that's the surface there, and those are the screws that I just cleaned out. Like I said, when you buy something from Harbor Freight, you're buying a kit. Don't kid yourself. This is what this surface should look like. This is a bearing surface. This is what slides back and forth on this surface. And when I got it, it was all like this. They just stuck it together with wet paint, and that's just not gonna do. So I'm taking the opportunity while it's apart to just clean all these bearing surfaces off, and I'll clean off the slot here where the blade fits. I have already taken a sharpening stone over here to the blade. I've cleaned it up. Cleaned up all four sides, taken all the burrs off it, made it nice and clean. So this has actually got a chance at being something that can cut. I've got to come over here. I still need to remove these screws, remove this cutting edge, because what happened is when I got the machine, that table over there was too far forward over here, and it sat underneath this, which then did not allow this blade, which is a shear, to come down. It acts like scissors right on that other edge, and it was on, and the bottom one was underneath, and it couldn't slide through. So then it nicked this corner here, bent it all up out of shape. Well, that's outside of where the tool is actually going to be working, but that's not right. So I will remove this blade. I will probably remove the bending bar and the fingers and take everything apart, get it all cleaned up. I've already adjusted these screws here, which adjust this bar, which sets the height up and down of these fingers into the bending groove, because I couldn't turn the handle because the gap here was too narrow, and this press was pushing down and not allowing to seat fully all the way down at the top of the stroke. So I'll probably just wind up disassembling all this, cleaning everything up, and putting it together. Yeah, some will probably say, why didn't I take it back when I saw the faults? You know what, honestly, the tool weighs over 300 pounds, and it's more trouble to take it back than to just run a tap over the surfaces, down the holes, clean up things that need to be cleaned up, and adjust it. When you buy tools like this from Harbor Freight, you just understand that it's a kit, that you're going to be required to do some work. So I'm going to get to it. I'm going to start cleaning stuff up. Okay, finally, it's been about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours since the last time I was talking to you. Since then, I have had to go to my mill, take the bottom blade, and elongate the holes, because the reason that the one that stripped out was stripped out is because the holes were in the wrong place, and he just tried to screw it through and forced it through anyway. Same thing with the holes in the square stop. The square stop was horribly out of square, so I had to take that over to the mill, square that out. Thoroughly greased all the grease points, oiled all the moving points. I had to readjust the back blade because it was actually bowed in. It was bowed toward me, which was then tight. I have set the stop in the back for 3 inches, and works pretty well. This is 20 gauge sheet steel, just like the machine is designed for. Now that I know my stop is square, I can actually use it. I take my stop, go all the way back to the back. That locks that in place. I've got the back stop set to 3 inches. Now, shears off, get the piece, and let's see, I'll come up here, and I'll show you, we're right at 3 inches. Can you see it there? 3 inches, and this way we're right at 3 inches. You get a little bit of a shadow there, but 3 inches and 3 inches, so that works. As far as the brake, lift that up, take that sheet out, the brake, that works too. It's going to be a little tougher to line things up, but once you get a good layout line, you can bring the head in, because this actually bends on the upstroke. So you would line it up, and you can come in, and that'll give you your square bend like that. And I haven't done anything here with the rollers, but I did set the back roller. So this, as you continue through, you adjust the tension on the rear roller, and you can see that that is already starting to bend. So then you would just adjust the knobs here on the back and make the back roller tighter and tighter, and as it gets tighter and tighter, then you will make a more sharp radius bend. So that's it. It's a kit. It's not really a working tool. You can buy them, but don't expect that they'll actually be working, because they don't a lot of the times. If you're kind of handy and you're ready to go, more power to you. And with the 20% off, and it was already $100 off, so I got about $180 off, so it was actually worth it. But there you go. If you want one, take a little bit of work, clean it up yourself, and you'll be fine. Have a good one.